imagine you're running through a park and then someone smashes you from behind and you hit the ground. You'd be really angry, unless you're playing rugby, and it would make sense, right? It's the same pain, it's the same impact, it's just a different way of looking at it. You can experience the exact same thing, but there was a day I decided I'm not going to tell any lie, and then I told my girlfriend a lie at 5:32 because she had this new brown outfit and she said, "What do you think of it?" I said, "Looks amazing, like you should totally, that's great." And I was like, "I've already lied." It's a weird outfit. And when she read the book, I didn't mention her, and she goes, "It was the brown outfit."
Will Smith
Yeah.
slapping Chris Rock. Look what that's done to his career.
How much would he give to just take a breath there? How much worse are the consequences of anger than the cause? If you get angry about something and your reaction to it makes everything worse than it was there, then there's this research they've done that men aren't very good at facing each other and talking. They can't face to face. They have to be side by side, and that's why, going and doing stuff, men need to do stuff. Otherwise, they just sit around a table and drink, they can do that.
What's been the most challenging truth to come to terms with?
So
Mandate.
Hi everyone, if you are enjoying the content and the guests that are on the podcast and you're wanting more, then please do us a favor. If you can just press the subscribe button, that would be an amazing help for us. But also, just want to mention an amazing organization called AOK, who sponsors the Mandate podcast. And so they are an organization that runs suicide prevention, intervention, and wellbeing programs. And so AOK stands for Acts of Kindness. And so you didn't need me to tell you about the alarmingly high rates of suicide in our nation, especially amongst our rangatahi, our young people, even our tāne, our men. And so if you're wanting to stand in the gap and you want to be well trained and well equipped to have these courageous life supporting conversations, then please check them out, aok.nz. If you're a business, a company or a collective, or even as an individual, check them out, www.aok.nz. You could very well be that one person to help save a life. Welcome to Mandate, where we navigate fresh perspectives and nothing is off the table. Tonight's guest is from Tāmaki Makaurau. Okilani happens to be an amazing individual who is an actor. He's also a sports commentator. He's also a radio host, broadcaster. He's a columnist, also a musician. The man's got 2 degrees, anthropology and philosophy. But also you recognize his familiar voice on Radio Hauraki. Also you recognize his face several years ago on a television series called Back Up to the Y, Masterpiece International, playing Danny Parker. Also on the feature film called what was it called again? The
Devil Dare Me Too.
Devil Dare Me Too. But also the man is the guitarist and the singer for the band called Deja Voodoo. But more recently, the man is the author of the best-selling book in Aotearoa right now called A Life Less Punishing. Please put your hands together for the man himself, Matt Heath.
thanks for having me.
Brother, thank you for coming out, man. I love you. I love the cap as well. The LA Dodgers. That's
I'm
us.
a big fan.
That's us. But where do we start, Matt? Because you've done so much thus far in your life and your career. But where do we start? And I thought, why don't we start with the book, A Life Less Punishing? And so, tell us the significance. Why the title? Why the book? And why all of a sudden you've become an author for the best-selling author in Aotearoa?
Well, yeah, I just sort of had this realization once that when times are good, you can still manage to make them bad if you don't, if you're not grateful. And I just had this particular experience where I was going for running a marathon in Queenstown, half marathon. And it's got to put that in brackets.
Full marathon.
Yeah. And I was down there with some mates and I was having a good time, but I was still miserable in my life. Like my mum had died and I'd just broken up with the mother of my children. We're still great mates, but we'd sort of split up, and I was miserable. And then the guys that I was away with, their lives got way worse afterwards. So I was the miserable one, and I was the one that had the least to be miserable about. Like, one of my good friends that was down there, one of them got cancer just after that, and the other one lost his wife to cancer within a year, and the other one nearly died the next day, ended up in hospital. And so it just struck me, so bad things can come, really quickly. And so if you don't enjoy the times when they're good or bearable, then it's a real waste because things are always going to keep coming your way. So that was the idea for the book. It's like, I've got to start living a life less punishing, and really punishing myself, like making it, because there's enough coming at you that you have to deal with from all around you and the universe, that if you're, scoring own goals and just making your life more difficult than it needs to be, it's kind of disrespectful to people that are going through really bad stuff and people that have real problems. And it's also, kind of a waste, because bad stuff will happen,
Yeah, exactly. It's cool, mate. And so I'm just wondering, because there's 13 ways to love the life you've got in terms of the 13 antidotes. And so how did you come up with it? Is just something that you just kind of gathered, or obviously the process of reading all these different books?
Yeah. Well, I decided, I was trying to think about how I could, make myself a little less, I guess, ungrateful with my life. But, I just wasn't feeling great. And I thought maybe I could read my way out of it and listen to podcasts and, I figured people must have sorted this out. I can't be the first person. So I just sort of went through and just read everything that came up and everything that anyone suggested, and you listen to a podcast and then there's something else. And then I started writing for the Herald on the topic. They made me the happiness editor for the Herald, which I didn't really know what that meant. It just meant writing. I didn't edit anything, I was just writing an article each week in this area. And then I started interviewing people around the world, because it turns out if you read someone's book and then you reach out to them on the other side of the world, they'll actually talk to you, And so I started doing that, and then from that, Alan Unwin, the publisher, came up and said, "Would you like to write a book?" And I was like, I don't know if I could. It seems like a lot, it seems long to write a book, but I managed to. I just knuckled down and did it, which was good. And writing the book was good for it. By the time the book was over, I was kind of moved on from my, my ungratefulness around life.
Is that what you called it? Was it? Because one of the things that I guess from a mandate context, their mantra is refining, unlocking, and taking charge.
Yeah.
And the acronym there is RUT.
Yeah.
And it sounded like you were like in a rut. And is that what you called that rut?
Yeah, I guess so. You kind of don't necessarily know at the time, hey. That's the thing, hey. Actually noticing that, and then you can do something about it. But yeah, it was a rut. Looking back, yeah. And my kids were healthy, like little things like that. And so you're miserable and your kids are healthy and you've got enough food, and there's people that don't. So work out a way to at least enjoy what you have,
Yeah, because you just called it ungratefulness. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that even a word? Ungratefulness? Probably.
Yeah, and you've called it that, but because I've only read like maybe 3/4 of your book.
Well, that's good. I appreciate that.
No, but I mean, your lessons are awesome, but I kind of found that a lot of your strategies were around reframing.
Yeah.
Reframing, and I just wonder if you've just used the ungratefulness as a way to reframe the actual rut.
Yeah.
Do you reckon? What do you reckon?
Yeah, possibly, yeah. But I mean, you can reframe things, eh? I talked to this philosopher in America, and he pointed out this really interesting idea that, like, say imagine you're running through a park, and then someone smashes you from behind and you hit the ground, and you'd be really angry, unless you're playing rugby. And then it would make sense, right? It's the same pain, it's the same impact, you know what I mean? But it's just a different way of looking at it. So, you can experience the exact same thing, but because the framing is a game as opposed to something random, So I thought that was a really interesting way to look at it. But I think you can reframe most things,
Yeah. Yeah, I love how you, with the strategies in the book and the learnings that you've got from a lot of these experts and authors, have really supported looking at it from a rational point of view and giving some rationale to it.
Yeah.
And logic, rather than just keeping it in the, what was that?
As best you can, though, I think you have to get into a space to even be able to do that,
Yeah.
And I reckon exercise is a good one to just get yourself a bit better, so then you can actually, reframe, because you kind of, it's easy to say that, like just reframe it. But some people aren't in quite in the position to do that,
Yeah. And what is that space? What is that position? What are the conditions for that?
I guess you have to because I've seen some people in some pretty bad conditions, and I guess some people don't even have the energy or even the want to, like some people get so bad that they don't even want to get better, so you at least have to want to find a way,
Yeah.
And I really reckon I seriously believe exercise is the best way to get to that point where you can then start thinking about, the ways you're going to do it,
Just cool. So in terms of the changes and what you've learned thus far, obviously with the book and what your own experiences, what have been some of the key changes that you've seen, or quite tangible, quite evident in your life right now, Matt? Like, oh yeah, this is because of this, because I've reframed this, my health or your gym, whatever. What else has been something that's
well,
quite
like on a
evident?
really, really low level, like today, driving out here, I plug in my Apple AirPlay and it doesn't work, and the cars. I'm driving out here. I want to listen to a podcast. The Apple AirPlay is not connecting, and in the past, I would just go, just go freaking crazy. Maybe like smash my phone, But then now I just go, does it really matter? Just play it off the phone, listen to it, whatever, And I reckon the biggest thing I've learned is that just because if you're angry or annoyed or stressed, you don't have to continue. You can just stop and continue. Even if you're having a bad conversation with someone like your partner or something, and you can just decide at that point, actually, I'm not going to continue down this path of making it crap. I'm just going to stop for a second and then just try and make it better. You can choose to how you're going to feel about something, because in the end, does it really matter if most things don't matter, and as big as you make them,
That's true.
Some things do really matter, and you want to save your energy for those,
Absolutely.
And just thinking about the aspect of like being ungrateful.
Yeah.
Do you think that's more prevalent in society today? Being ungrateful, sort of like first world problems.
Oh, 100%. I think people used to just be grateful. I mean, if you take it all the way back to way back to when we were all hunters and gatherers, people were just grateful if they were alive that night, and that their kids were still alive and that they'd found some food. And I think they might have even been happier than us, because every day you would achieve that. If you achieved keeping your family alive, finding some food, and then finding somewhere to sleep, then you would be happy, right? But we just need so much. People need so much to be happy. Someone was just complaining to me the other day that their heated bathroom floor wasn't working. And that was how it goes. I can't handle it. Like, going to the bathroom, my feet are cold. It's like, that's how bad it gets, eh? Like, wear socks into the bathroom. I don't know. For all of human history, we haven't had a heated bathroom floor. I think the Romans had them briefly, but only the emperors. So I think you're 100% right. I think we've just got it. Some people have got it too good.
That's interesting. It makes me think about like expectations. Like, things go well when things work as expected. But even thinking back to the analogy of like being in the park and being tackled from behind, like, it's the surprise factor, of not expecting it, that makes people upset. If you're expecting it, you can handle it to a degree.
Yeah.
But that surprise factor or something not working as it's expected to, then the world falls apart and we're really unhappy.
Yeah, if someone that you really trust and you expect them to be honest and not rip you off or something is way worse than someone that you expect it from. You know what I mean? Like, if there's someone that you don't trust and then they're untrustworthy, fine. But if you've just expected this and then it goes the other way, boy, that's the stuff that gets you, And also, a lot of people, like, they expect, their relationships to go well, and they expect everything to keep going. They expect to keep their job, all those kind of things, That's when it really hits you,
How did you get to the 13 ways? Like, how did you get to these destinations to,
I was just thinking about the things that are wrong with me, like, you're not wrong with me, but things like anger and stress, things like that. And, not dealing, not reaching out to my mates enough to be, like, there's a whole chapter on loneliness and all that kind of stuff. So all of them, it just happened to be 13 by the time I finished, But then people keep coming to me. Someone came up to me the other day and said, "You missed guilt." And it's like,
You have humiliation in there, eh?
yeah, humiliation's a big one.
Yeah. And is guilt the same part of the shame family?
I think it is. It's kind of in there, isn't it? But it's
Yeah.
slightly different, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's the same answer, right? Because you can't live in the past, but you can learn from it, right? So you know, if you've done something stupid, you go, well, I've got to do it, be better, but you can't change it. So you know, you got to find a way forward. You know.
Because, I mean, you know, you've got these 13 chapters, and I was wondering even how you ordered it. Did you order it based on the thickness of the chapters, or did you order it based on which one bothered you the most? But just so that the listeners can kind of hear, are we able to sort of go through those 13 chapters? Because I think...
I keep forgetting all of them when people ask me. Like just then before I was going through, I think I can only remember 3.
But you know what? Before I read it, I was like, I'm just going to go to the ones that hit me the most. And
Yeah.
the ones I've highlighted, don't look at it, James.
Oh, are you okay, Caroline? Is everything okay?
The ones I highlighted was, angry stood out for me.
Yeah.
So I was like, I got to read that. And then offended stood out for me. And then humiliated stood out for me. Greedy stood out for me too.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I didn't get to read that yet. And then annoyed. And then the other ones I was like, kind of. But those 4, for some reason, stood out for me, and I haven't had time to process it. But is there, like, you know, even the structuring of your book, like?
Yeah, well, kind of when I was talking to the publisher, they were like, can you write it so people can just read one chapter and, you know, like that, rather than it sort of has a flow. But like the first one, Anger, that one was the first one because I thought it had the best story. So I thought, you know, you want to get in there with a good story to start, which is like, that's a humiliating one, that angry one. It should also be in the humiliating one as well. And then I kind of want to
share it now. You've just introduced it.
Oh, okay. That's the story about when I was. I used to be a huge fan of Tim Finn. You know, a huge fan when I was a kid, and then I when I got to meet him. When I was lucky enough to be put on tour with him, so we were playing with them, and I was like, this is great. But then I just terrible rage ended up with me getting in a fight in his dressing room and ended up like beating my mate over the head with his own shoe. And meanwhile, Tim Finn's standing there going, what are you guys doing? And I was thinking, it was so far from what I wanted to happen, which was to impress this guy. And then next thing you know, you've like knocked a whole lot of food off his table in his dressing room, you know. And that was because that was kind of being an angry little man back in the day. And that was just such a stupid argument because for wider context, we were on tour and we had to do 2 things because we had that stunt TV show, Back of the Wire. So we had to play music, and then afterwards we'd come back on and I'd smash 10 burning guitars we'd over my friend, and we'd have this sort of on-stage fight. And I didn't know that I'd broken his ribs on the first night, and so we were on tour for quite a bit. And then he was being like a real dick at soundcheck, and then we just blew up into this fight that went all the way down the stairs and into Tim Finn's dressing room. So that was humiliating because when we stopped fighting, I was looking around going, oh man, this is so lame, this is embarrassing. You know, like so I thought that was quite a good story, you know, to start with, you know. And it was good to get it out. And it was interesting because I saw Tim Finn recently. We interviewed him for something, and I said, do you remember that? He goes, I remember that. Jeez, man, you were intense guys.
Jeez, my goodness.
And I love the message around the whole anger thing, that a lot of it does, like, being angry is an emotion and that's okay, but it's when you stay in it and how it exacerbates itself. And you use some really cool examples of Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. Yeah. Like, look what that's done to his career. Like, you know, the aftermath of...
How much would he give to just take a breath there, you know? And like anger, like there's this quote from Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, that said it's basically how much worse are the consequences of anger than the cause, you know? So if you get angry about something and your reaction to it makes everything worse than it was there, then that's the problem, and that happens all the time, right? You just keep going and going and going and going. So, but it's funny about that because I talked to like neuroscientists and stuff about how you deal with anger, and it just came back the same way your mum dealt with anger when you were a kid. When, you know, she grabs you and goes, count to 10, breathe, okay, you know, and that's that that's the way they all work it out, because it's this complex thing between like your prefrontal cortex and your amygdala, and your amygdala is sort of your ancient part of your brain, and that doesn't know that you live in a, you know, in modern age. It just fires up like you're being attacked by like an animal, you know, in the jungle or wherever, you know. And at the prefrontal cortex is the modern part of our brain that came on later that goes, you know, think about things, what's the best thing, plan for the future, you know, what's the best overall. But the amygdala, the lizard part of the brain, goes, bah! And it's more powerful than the front. So you just got to, if you take a breath, it gives time for the prefrontal cortex to re-kick in, and so you actually make a good decision. But you can't, it's hard to do that in the moment, you know, because you're just like, ah! So you kind of just got to think about what your mum used to say and go, okay, just breathe.
What did your dad say about it?
My dad?
About anger? Because it's interesting, how mums teach that. But what was Dad's advice around that?
Actually, there's a story later in the book about, actually in that anger chapter about, because I come from the bottom of the South Island, and when someone screams at you, we call it a southerly. Like they give you a southerly, because, you know, the cold wind. And so there's a story about that when I ran my dad off the road when I was driving around near the farm and trying out my car, doing handbrake turns and stuff, and my dad was coming home, and I ran him off the road, and then he turned like that, and I was like, damn! And then we got into this car chase all the way home, and then I ran in, and I just abandoned the car, jumped outdoors, and sprinted over and jumped in the barn and hit and locked all the doors.
What were you running from? The jandal.
Yeah, and then he's just screaming, banging on the door, and I was saying, that's a righteous rage. He had, you know, like, it's hard to argue that he didn't have a reason to, like, it was quite good. Like, because he had a good point. He was like, you nearly ran me off the road. You're going to kill yourself. You're going to kill someone else if you're doing that, you know. So that's kind of the righteous rage. You know, it's hard for me to nitpick him on that one.
Did the fear of getting a beating from your dad at that time, did you learn the lesson from the fear that came in that moment?
Yeah, I don't think I learned the lesson then. I was, you know, I hid in the bar until ages, and then snuck back into the house, and my mum had put my dinner in the microwave, and I was like, beep, beep, beep.
Oh man, you're lucky your mum told you to count to 10, because if it was my mum, one.
Yeah.
But no, I totally agree in terms of that amygdala. In terms of, obviously, it's responsible for a lot of our emotions and a lot of the bad memories and good memories.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's so hard. It's hard when you just, you know, it's sometimes even if you're taught that way, you know, or just you learn behavior in terms of seeing people quite violent, or you just seen that kind of stuff, and then you kind of act it out as well. And so, in terms of of a life less punishing, and also the 13 ways to love. How is it in terms of the amygdala? You're kind of patient now in terms of the anger and all that kind of stuff. So how do you implement it now in this day and age for yourself, but also for our men? I think a lot of our men are like, oh, how do I do that, Matt?
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is, you got to remember that it's like something you're aiming for. Like, no one's ever perfect. Like, you've just got to, like, it's like a North Star that you're going, I want to be there. This is what I know I want to be. And then you try and be that. And every time you fall short, you go, oh, okay, well, I fell short there, but I'm getting better, you know? So so you're never going to be a person that doesn't get angry, doesn't get annoyed, doesn't get stressed. You know, you've just got to accept that. But you can, you know, get better at dealing with it. You know what I mean? Like for example, like in the stress chapter, I talk about how lying gets you in a lot of trouble and creates stress. You know, like every time you tell a lie, it makes things way more complicated. You've got to deal with a whole lot of stuff.
You got to remember it.
You got to remember your lies, you know, like on a really simple level. If you're running late and you go, I'll be there in 5 minutes, and you know you're going to be half an hour, then that next 25 minutes is horrible, because you're just really fanging it to get there. And then when you get there, you have to tell another lie, like, oh, the bridge was, there was really heavy traffic, and then someone go, really, my dad was just on the bridge, it was free flowing, like, you know what I mean? You know, and that's just the lowest level of lying. But there's little things like that you can go, I'm going to try and tell less lies, and that can kind of make your life better. You know, you're still going to tell some. Like I write in the book that there was a day I decided I'm not going to tell any lies, and then I told my girlfriend a lie at 5:32 because she had this new brown outfit, and she said, "What do you think of it?" And I said, "It looks amazing. Like you should totally, that's great." And I was like, "I've already lied. It's a weird outfit." And when she read the book, I didn't mention her, and she goes, "It was the brown outfit. I knew you were lying. I knew you were lying."
I was going to ask that. I was going to say, did she know that you were lying?
I mean, she looked good in it, but it was just a weird outfit.
So why did you lie about that? Why do men lie when it comes to that question?
I think it's. To be fair, the other path is quite full on. Like it's 5:32 in the morning, or whenever I got up, 5 a.m. in the morning, and you're like, it's just laziness. You don't want to go into it. You know, you don't want to go. You don't want to go. And then they go, well, she'll go, why? And you go, you know what I mean? Like.
Laziness in terms of communication or thinking or rationalizing?
Well, laziness in that you don't want to go through the confrontation at that point, you know.
Yeah.
What comes with the confrontation?
Well, just kind of like, it's not really a confrontation. It's more like, it's cowardice. It's cowardice, you know.
We've gone from laziness to cowardice.
It's lazy. It's cowardice. It's. Yeah, like that's a small example of it. But the weird thing about that is I went on to the television show Traitors, and I was trying not to lie on that show. Like I decided that I was doing this thing because I was writing the book at the time, and that the whole thing was about lying. And I was a traitor on the show, and I tried not to lie. So whenever anyone would try to ask me a question about things, I'd try and change the subject. So I watch that, and I'm always like, it's like someone goes, "So who do you think that the traders are?" You know, you're not a trader, and I'll be like, "So, would you want a cup of coffee, or you know, like, or have you tried the tennis court down there? Have you seen that? Have you gone for a walk?" It was terrible. I mean, that was that. I mean, being on a show around lying, I think you can give yourself a pass on that one.
Oh man!
Did you just change subjects then?
Yeah, that was a joke. I was just imagining someone.
Just demonstrating that.
I was just imagining someone watching this, and I was going, I'm now back in the room lying about I don't want to get into that again. But also, that's why it's something you're aiming for, and we keep falling short. I just fell short then.
But I think you've hit on something, man, and I thank you for your honesty. Because I don't think, notice how these two have gone quiet? So let's go back there.
I agreed 100%. It is absolutely. It's the effort of having to justify and then continue on a conversation that you didn't ask to be a part of. Like, I didn't want to have this discussion about your brown dress. I was happy doing something, and then you interrupted what I was doing to ask me about your brown dress. I can cut it short if I say it looks fine and continue on with what I was doing. And in my mind, that's how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. And we're not experts on that. You know.
And I want to explore the confrontation bit and the cowardice bit. Anyone else want to add? This is good. This is healthy.
You call it cowardice, but I think it's strategic.
Yeah. Yeah, strategic. It's picking. No, okay. This is what you say. Pick your battles. I'd say pick your battles. You know. Yeah, but that one's a hard one to get out of because you've been asked a direct question.
Because I think it's important for women to also understand what we put men through when we ask that question and what happens to us when you tell the truth. So say because you just described it, the dress is weird. It looks weird.
Yeah. Well, it's actually little shorts and sort of a singlet thing. But yeah, the point doesn't matter.
And so, you know, what potentially are some of the reactions that you're guarding yourself from?
Yeah.
When you are honest with.
Well, you don't want to. It actually comes from a place of love. You don't want to. You don't want to make them feel bad. You don't want to make someone feel bad. But also, kind of changing the subject. But you know, it's actually better to tell the truth because so if you go to like eat somewhere, and then there's this thing we do here where we always say the food's good when someone comes over. We always go, what was it like? You could be saying to your friend right beside you, "Jeez, I can't eat it." And sometimes I've even eaten food I don't like just so the chef doesn't feel bad, you know? Because you're like, I don't want to go back in and him see that I haven't eaten it, you know? That's so how lame you can get. But a restaurant wants to know that people don't like their food. You're not actually helping them by not telling them. They keep doing the same mistake and then they'll go out of business, you know? So it kind of the raw truth is probably the best way for everyone if you can stomach delivering it, you know.
the delivery bit and then the repercussion bit.
yeah.
And I think it's because we do ask that question, and I do hear a lot of men actually say the same thing. And, from a woman's perspective, we have to wear that out in public.
But now I'm thinking,
safeguard me, man.
why ask? Like, I'm curious from a woman's perspective. Why ask? Have you ever taken the time, you've purchased this outfit that at one point in time you thought would look good on you? Why bother asking? Like,
Exactly.
why
At
would you
one
ask?
point in time, it looked good. This was like 5 kilos ago. Either way, either side of the scale. And so 5 kilos later, you're like,
Look,
But
we're not experts. We can't weigh in what we don't know.
I'm familiar.
My thought is like, look at how I dress. I dress for comfort. What makes you think I'm qualified to offer an opinion on what you're wearing? Is what I think when Kaz asked me, because she likes to dress up nice and she looks after herself way better. And sometimes when she asks me that, I'm like, what makes you think my opinion would offer any sort of value to what you're thinking?
And what did
You
she
know what I
say?
mean? Nothing. She knows not to ask me. I think
like,
we've had
say-
enough discussions that she just knows now.
If you flip it around the other way, though, like I know I'm constantly told that what I'm wearing looks stupid or not appropriate for where we're going, And it doesn't seem to offend me. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, so I should put some pants on. Okay.
So
I can't go out of my boxers. Okay, I'll put some pants on, Like, but you know what I mean? Like, are you going to wear those shoes? And you're like, I was going to. Why? Like, well, I think you should wear these,
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
we're going around to mum's house. So, you should probably put, maybe put a comb through your hair, that kind of thing.
gel.
Because I feel like that might be an expert on the situation more than me, Like I'll go, you're more of an expert on what I'm wearing than what I'm wearing, because I clearly don't care,
Comes down to that. Eh?
Yeah, we don't care.
There will be times that you're like,
You're right.
you just stick with what you got because you're like, oh, it doesn't matter to me, but thank you for the feedback. Then there are other times where it's like, oh, okay, I don't know that I'm happy to, dress up a little bit more.
so I don't arrive somewhere and I'm dressed wrong for the situation, because I have just not thought about it at all, So I think sometimes you can take feedback. Well, I think I can take feedback, but
Yeah.
that's just because I don't care about it. So because I don't care about it, I don't mind changing it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
What is something that you care about that feedback would be like?
Oh yeah. Well, for the longest time, in when I first started commercial radio, we'd have these consultants. So you'd finish a show, and they're often Australian consultants that they fly over, and then they'll play back your break and tell you when you weren't funny and when you were, and when you should have got out of the break. And that's tough because you're hearing it, and it's never as good when you hear it back. And like, even if you thought it was good at the time, you sound, it's pretty hard listening to yourself. So I used to I'd just get angry about that. I was like, I wouldn't listen because, sometimes the advice is really good. Normally it was just shorten your breaks, but sometimes they had something. But in fact, it's always just shorten your breaks. It's just like you talk too long. But yeah, things like that you've put a lot of work into, or when I was making TV shows, and the commissioners will be like, they've got a problem with it, and because you've put so much work into it, and and it's something you really have done your very best on, then I used to really struggle to take feedback around that kind of thing. I'd fly into a rage.
Oh, man.
And do you think rightfully so? Because this is something that you do on radio, right?
Yeah.
So you don't get the privilege of getting feedback, and then you get this one feedback from this one dude
Yeah.
who is going to be, their feedback's going to be quite, I know we call them consultant, but they're still human.
Yeah.
And their feedback's going to be filtered by how they're
Yeah.
feeling, how that plane trip was, or
Yeah, that's
you know,
true.
whatever
But-
feedback their wife gave them. Like,
Well, yeah, there's something I write about in the book around the thing where you ask yourself, is it true? And if it's true, then you thank someone for the information. And if it's not true, then it's ridiculous. So it doesn't matter.
yeah,
They've got it wrong. So if you can do that, and it's once again, it's an ideal that you want to go for. But if you just ask yourself a question, I've got this good mate called Manai, and he's got this great saying that his grandmother told him, which was never take advice. Never, I've got to get it right. It's like, it's basically, don't take offense. No, don't be offended by the things people say who you wouldn't take advice from. I kind of got that around the road. It's much easier. So if you wouldn't take advice from the person, then don't be offended by what they say, you know? And so that's kind of thing. So if you're talking to this guy and you go, this guy's a complete muppet, then you don't need to be offended because you don't respect the person. But then if they say something that's true, then you go, I can't be offended because they're just telling me, you know, what the world's like, you know? So those are a couple of things I try and do now. I go, is that true, you know? Like if you know, you went up to Usain Bolt and said, I can run 100 meters faster than you, he'd be stupid to be offended by that. You know, if I went up to him and said that, you know, he'd be like, he wouldn't. He would be like, that's stupid. You know, that's not offensive. That's rubbish. You know, that's, you know, and that's an extreme example of it. But everything, and you know, if you can take on, I mean, if you can take on suggestions and advice and stuff, then you tend to get better, don't you?
Well, how much more so now, mate? Because obviously, how much more so now in terms of the industry that you're in? You obviously get feedback, and you talk about the consultant, but you look at this day and age of social media, all these different platforms, you're getting feedback, comments left, right, and centre. They're just bombarding you.
When I'm on radio, comments. I've got like a live feed of people just, you know, awesome. You know, like some of it's good, and if 1 in 50 of them are bad, then that's the one that sticks out, like it's, you know, written in 10 times bigger than the other ones. But I think that's helped me actually, because having that real time feedback, you get a thick skin from it, you know. And I actually tell the story in the book where one day I was walking down K Road and this guy came out of a pub and just took a swing and missed me and hit a fence post. And then he started yelling at me, and I was walking down the road. I actually ran down the road after that. But and then I was thinking, I kind of think about that as someone on the internet and social media is kind of like that. That guy didn't know me. He wasn't actually trying to hit me. He was just trying to hit the next person that came along, you know. It wasn't anything really personal. It was just that he was, you know, drunk yeah, you know. And so it's just people, you know, on social media are taking wild swings. You know, you don't know enough about them, you know. You know enough about your dad. Well, I know enough about my dad that if he says something that I respect it, you know, I'll take it on board. But I'm not going to take stuff on board from a stranger I know nothing about, you know, because who knows what their motivations are. Probably just to get attention, you know. Their life might be terrible and they're just saying the most full-on thing they can just so people notice them, you know.
Jeez, man, it seems like a lot of reflection into the book, but also the journey thus far for you. Obviously, there's a part in terms about offence, and so were you highly offended, or were you one of those individuals like just people just say something, just
I think it's so easy.
That amygdala just goes off.
I had the thinnest skin in the world for the longest time, eh? Like anything at all would get me going, except for about what I was wearing. That's about the only thing that's the only thing people could comment on. And but yeah, I mean I'm much better now, but I still get you know, things still piss me off, and I still get offended by things, you know, like if someone you know, you release a book, for example, that's quite full on, because you've written this whole thing and it's taken you ages, and then you're reading a review and you're like, you know, the reviews have been really good, but there'll be one little bit in it, and you won't even just take a good review. You're like, why isn't that a glowing review? This is only a 4-star review, you know. And it's like you start to go, hang on a minute, what's going on? I'd be lucky to get 2 stars. I should be happy with all of it. What am I doing, you know? So I just have to keep reframing even now, you know.
Yeah.
But why is that? Why is there? You know, you can get a lot of good comments, positive comments, and it's just that one.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it just kind of it sticks with us, and you're just like, oh, and it takes all our attention.
And we almost don't believe the good ones. Like it's like, I don't know, we push them aside, and then we're like, and there's this thing on our text machine at Hauraki where you go and you can see all the things that person is. You know, you just press it and you see all the things they've texted us in the past. Whenever you click that, you're like, oh, this person just entered a competition. They've been listening for 3 years, you know, and then they're having a go at you, and then 3 ago they're saying something, and you know, good, bad, and it's like, I don't know, if you do a bit of an investigation, there's sometimes more to it, but you know, sometimes we are rubbish on our show. Like sometimes people point it out, and it's like, yeah, it's a good point. That was a pretty rubbish break, you know. Like today we did a whole break on leather couches. and whether they're, you know, whether they're any good. They were really expensive, but is it so great to sit on a leather couch? Because it's it's not good. It's a bit,
What was the outcome?
Well, we didn't really go anywhere with it. We didn't really
Just explored it.
It was a consultant killer, that one.
And just thinking about that, like if what people are saying is not true, you can easily disregard it and not be offended by it. Just thinking of like, if people have really good intentions and what they're saying isn't true, do you have like a moral obligation to correct them?
Yeah. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Like what you engage on, eh? Because, yeah. I was actually just talking to a friend today about this, and this goes back to relationships, and it's kind of the same thing where you go, someone's clearly doing something wrong, but is it your job to fix them or just let it continue on? Like say someone's saying something to you that's wrong, do you have to go, well, no, actually, do you always have to defend your corner? Like, I don't know. I think it's probably best for you to just go, you're wrong. I'm fine with it myself, but it's probably best for them if they get pointed out that they're talking crap, you know what I mean? So it's actually a favour, I guess, to engage, maybe not necessarily in your relationship, but in the real world, if someone's just spouting off, they don't know anything about a topic and they're spouting off about it, then you probably should correct them, right? If you know what they're talking about is rubbish, but it's a difficult life if you're constantly going around correcting people that don't know what they're talking about. It's a full-time occupation.
So what's the
Tell me
time?
about it.
And there must be right, I don't even know if that's the right classification in terms of, are there right and wrong ways of doing it? Like, is it best to, pull them aside and have a talk with them? Are you sort of adding in the facts to correct them in the topic of discussion? Or is it like scorched earth, put them in their place if they're really spouting nonsense?
Yeah, that's a tough one, eh? I didn't get that far in the book. That's a real tough one, that one. Like how you do it, eh? But yeah, I guess the key would be not to get angry, eh? Because if you can calmly correct someone, then that's hard to do, but probably the way about it, eh? Yeah.
And people naturally get offended when you try to correct them, as opposed to give them a perspective.
Yeah, and there's always a chance you're wrong, even though you're certain that you're right as well. That's the other thing.
True.
Good point.
Yeah.
Like the other day, I was sure that this fish I'd been served was like off. I was having a meal with my dad, and then it was like, and he goes, "What are you drinking there?" And I had this like mulled wine because we were down in the South Island. He goes, "That's full of bloody cinnamon and weird crap. It's making that taste bad." You know what I mean? So like, I was so sure that I'd been served rotten fish, but it was really just what I was eating it with. So. So there's sometimes you're so sure you're right and you're actually not, So I think you got to be humble in that. I mean, there's things in my life that I've been so sure I was right about, then I found out I was wrong about,
Because you don't cover humility, eh?
No.
You don't cover that in the book, and yet that could be one of the underlying strategies in a lot of ways to calm all of these.
Yeah, it could be actually. Good point.
Yeah.
I think, humility is an important thing, isn't it? Like, but yeah, no, I didn't go there. There's a couple of things you guys have pointed out so far. I'll put them in the next book.
Part 2.
I'll be looking forward to it. You go.
No, I was just wondering because obviously we can talk about the book, and it's great. The book is amazing in terms of, but also just wanted to hit on just in the introduction of the book. You talked about wakatipu, obviously in the shore, and thinking about your mom. Obviously, your mother is an instrumental part of your life.
Yeah.
You said that she was your cheerleader, and you had to recreate that cheerleading or someone to obviously cheerlead yourself.
Yeah.
And so, in terms of, is there anyone else? Have you found a substitute cheerleader, so to speak? Or is it just you, still you?
Yeah. Well, it's hard to replace your mum in terms of cheerleading. No one, because, you talk about back of the wire, right? And my mum was really proper, like she didn't swear much or at all, and she was quite quietly spoken, and then I made the most full-on offensive, disgusting television show of all time where everyone was on fire and throwing feces around and stuff, And my mum and my sisters were so angry because they're like, you know, mum's she cannot handle this. And then she watched it. She went, it was brilliant. It was so intelligent. And my sister's going, you're kidding. You're kidding. That is everything you hate. Everything you hate in the world has just been put on TV by your son, and you're giving it the best review. You're giving it 5 stars, you know. And so that's what your mum's like. I remember one time, because me and my sisters used to all smoke, but secretly, you know. But my mum just believed that my sisters smoked. But we were sitting around the Christmas table once, and my mum goes, "Well, Matt doesn't smoke. Why can't you be more like him?" And my sisters are going, "Matt bloody smokes. What are you doing? He stinks. He stinks right now. He went out and had a cigarette on the porch." She goes, "He doesn't." That was her approach. He doesn't.
Was that her reframing everything?
Yeah, I had 3 sisters and one and just in me. So you know, I got like mum gave me special treatment. So as far as finding a cheerleader like that, I'm going to be looking like I couldn't possibly expect anyone to be as much of a cheerleader as my mum was. You know, which is and that's the thing when your mum passes away, you're like something good happens and you want to ring her. Something bad happens and you want to ring her, and you can't, you know. So that was probably part of the reason why I was in kind of a funk, you know, back then. But you know,
Yeah, she was your biggest supporter.
yeah,
Massive.
you need 100% supporter, you know.
And you only need one,
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
you? Like
Yeah.
in reality.
One's more than enough, you know. I mean, it's amazing if you have one, you know.
Yeah, because you always hear those stories, right, about people who live crazy lives like you. And they always talk about that one significant person, whether it was an auntie, a parent, or a teacher.
Yeah.
There's always this one significant adult in everybody's life, like Michael Jordan, his dad, you know, with his basketball, and then he got a replacement for that with the janitor, I think, or is that right? And everybody has a significant one person.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people realize you only need one really good one.
Yeah.
You're pretty much set on your path to whatever it is that you want to achieve.
Yeah,
It's quite powerful.
You can use that as a foundation for the confidence to do what you're doing, I guess, because you go, well, that person's going to back me, you know, even if everyone else isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Confidence.
Yeah.
I imagine there are times when like you can't even cheer yourself to go do something, but that one person cheering you on is like, that's what gets you over the hump. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I imagine if you're a mum, you're taking those calls and you go, right, you know, I've got it. This is where I go to work, because you know you're getting that call from your son who's clearly needs his tires pumped up here, you know.
That's cool. Was she like that with your sisters?
Yeah, they've got a different relationship. They had a different relationship. They were like 4 sisters, you know, like they've got all their politics with each other, and you know, like it's almost a closer relationship because they're all in it in this kind of thing together, you know.
Do they treat you the same?
My sisters,
Yeah, because you're the only boy.
they treat me pretty good. My sisters, my sisters will have arguments, and I'm never part of them. You know, like I'm like I sit outside of them. They've got ongoing disputes that I don't understand.
Are you like the peacemaker sometimes?
I might put a bit of niggle in there to get things going, you know, here and there.
Instigator. You know the instigator?
Yeah.
Mix all the flavors together.
I might appear to be the peacemaker, but you know, I mean, when your kid's like, you just, you know, someone's got to behave, and then you'll just, you know, your dad will look away, and then you just have a pee at your big sister's head or something, you know, to fire them up. Yeah.
You're similar to Patia because he has no brothers, 4 sisters, and his mum, and I think she treats him similarly.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mum's she's the biggest cheerleader. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's annoying when you want to kick a ball around, you know, when you're a kid. But there's definitely some advantages in being the only boy, you know.
I'm curious, Caroline, just you talking about Pete in that situation. What's it like for you being, you know, the daughter-in-law to a mum, and, you know, for Pete, like, what's it like for you in terms of like, because I've heard of people that are like, oh, you know, mama's boy, or, you know, and they can cause relationship tension when a son is so close to the mother. Like, what's that like in your situation? Is that a thing in your situation, or?
I think the only thing for me is the special treatment that he gets. Like, I even hear my brother-in-law's like, oh, this guy. Like, he'll walk into his sister's house, for example, and he'll be like, must be my birthday today. And then his sisters will have special plates for him and stuff like that. And his mum, on a Friday, if he knows that he's coming, she'll she'll hide some food for him and put it on the side in front of everybody. And like everyone knows that's his plate.
I'm like, oh man, wow. What's going on here?
So then,
that's a good way to be. It's a good position to be in.
So then on my end, I'm like, you ain't getting that special treatment at home.
That's why my mom's the biggest chick.
So yeah, kind of undoes what we're trying to do at home, don't think.
Oh my gosh.
Perspective, eh?
Yeah. Perspective.
This is a good time for me to lie right now.
Yeah.
But was your partner sort of your wife? Like when she saw that sort of treatment, what was her perspective? If you're able to share that.
Mad eye rolling.
Eye rolling. All right, cool.
But actually, my mum and dad actually became such a big fan of Lani that actually now, even though me and Lani aren't together anymore, they're still, it's still in contact. Like, I mean, grandchildren, it's pretty good to bring grandchildren. Well, my mum's not so much in contact with her. But my dad's like, she's still one of the family to them. But there'd been negative reactions to previous girlfriends. That's for sure. This one came along, and that was like another member of the family, and still is.
Yeah, he's your golden boy.
Yeah,
you're the golden boy. That's right, you're the golden boy. So, who's your cheerleader now? There's obviously yourself, but who's taking that place now? Is there someone significant?
Yeah, well, my girlfriend, she's pretty nice. She's nice. She's a nice person. Yeah, she loves it. She won't be so lovely when she hears me once again talking about the brown outfit again. But generally speaking, she's on my side. My kids are on my side. I got my two boys are they're great, man. They're like they're really good boys, and so they're on my side. Mostly.
How old are they?
17 and 15.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. They're that cool age.
Yeah, no, it's a good age. It's amazing when they start becoming adults, eh? It's kind of a tough age as well, because like my 17-year-old, he's gone, He's been around, he spent so much time on the sport, on the sideline watching him play sport and stuff. And then suddenly he's like, he's got his whole life. He's got to go and follow his life now, and you can't stop that. But you can't help but feel nostalgic for for the lisp and the and all that stuff when they were little. But
So only boy in your family, all sisters, and now you got just sons.
Yeah, and nearly across, my sisters have been blasting out mainly sons as well. So there's so many males in the wider family now. Finally. Yeah, they made up for it. Yeah, because my mum was one of 5 daughters, and then she started having lots of daughters, and then it's sort of evened out a bit now.
Jeez. Man, and just thinking about that, because I'm curious about the dynamic in terms of like your mum was your cheerleader. I'm wondering what your father was like in terms of like, what was your relationship like with him? Because I'm curious about your relationship with your sons. Do you sort of mirror more like your mum in terms of cheerleading for them?
I felt like I got to know my dad when my mum died. And before that, not really. Before that, my dad was kind of like, I'd be talking on the phone and my mum would go, you want to say hello to your dad? And I'd say, yeah, okay. And he'd go, hello. I'd go, hello. And then he'd go, okay, well, you seem busy, so I'll let you go. I've had this joke with my friends because I got another mate whose dad was the same. It was like, always, well, you seem busy, I'll let you go. And it's like, no, I'm not busy, you're busy. You know what I mean? Whatever. But he just worked really hard, so he wasn't around much. He was just always working. So but now we've really bonded. Like we're really good now. I've just been down seeing him, and no, he's a lovely man. he's a good provider, and he was always, you know, a few lessons, but, you know, he'd always be just working, basically.
Yeah. What did Dad think about your chosen career in terms of broadcasting and also back of the wire?
I think he struggled with it. He struggled. He definitely struggled with it.
Oh, he did.
I think he is quite proud of me now. Yeah, I think when I started writing for the Herald, he was like, "Oh yeah, I understand that one. You know, you're writing in a publication that I've heard of. You know, you're not just setting yourself on fire and throwing feces around or whatever we used to do. You know."
Oh, cool.
So he wasn't a fan of Danny Parker, was he?
I don't.
Did he watch the?
He did
episodes? Actually.
He did. No, I don't. Well, look, to be honest, I haven't heard much about it, so I'm assuming.
Because you do talk about men and emotions,
Yeah,
and how that's different from women and emotions, and I think I love that you have an awesome relationship with your mum, but in terms of father-son relationships, that's always different. I think more common that it's different, and it's really important for men, people to for all of us to understand that generation.
yeah,
Where some of that, because you talk about stoicism, don't you?
Yeah.
Are you able to talk about that a little bit, just to kind of give some context?
Yeah,
that's really cool how you put that in the book.
Yeah, so stoicism's like it's that thing you hear all the time now. It's like, expend your energies on the things you can control and not on the things you can't control, you know. And it's little things like that, and basic principles like, if it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. Like there's a bunch of really basic sort of principles and trying to live a virtuous life for the community. And, there's this, I talked about Marcus Aurelius before, and, he was the most powerful person in the world and, had life or death over anyone. But instead of, he actually saw that his goal in life was to serve and do the right thing and be virtuous and make the world a better place, And so, when you read Meditations, he just wrote it to himself. And it's a book that survived for a couple of thousand years because people used to just write it out over and over again. It was just basically his diary in his tent on when he was on at war. And it's just him saying things to him, like, what right have you got, like if you're, one of the great things he said is, like if someone's aggravating you, then it's like have I ever done the same thing, and if I have done the same thing as that, then you have to have empathy, and it's a sort of a realization that, living your life in the best way you possibly can in accordance with who you are, basically, and trying to be a better person the next day than you were the day before. So there's just it's great principles in there, of stoicism, and a lot of it's just basic common sense, but it's just been written down, and that's what's interesting about it. He didn't invent stoicism; he'd been trained in it. They'd been around for a long time before then. It started in Greece, but he just used it to be a great emperor. And so, if you can be the most powerful person in the world and be a good person when you don't have to. And all the other emperors, they're like orgies and like feeding people to lions and, doing terrible things. And he wasn't. So that made him a particularly amazing person,
It's cool.
It is.
Do you think that there's an element of stoicism that's kind of lost in this day and age in terms of our what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, because the basic principle is that it's your responsibility to sort out your own thoughts, and that your thoughts determine how good your life is, and that's really the only thing you control is your thoughts and your how you react to things. And I think there's a lot now where people expect someone else to sort it out or blame someone else, and there's definitely blame to be thrown around, that's for sure. But in the end, for your own and personal success in life and tranquility and happiness in life, you've got to make an effort to sort yourself out, you know, and how you perceive the world around you. But while you say, as you say that there's a lot of stoicism missing in the world, it's also everywhere all of a sudden, you know, like it's all over Instagram, you know, all of a sudden people are talking about it. And it's funny because Marcus Aurelius wrote about how he was always writing about how he was insignificant, like he was the emperor, but he was insignificant and he would soon be forgotten and it wouldn't matter. And he was one of the most, he was constantly writing about that, like just be good now because it doesn't matter, you know, because you'll be gone soon, you know. And then it's just kind of ironic, I guess, that he's the emperor that people talk the most about now, you know, maybe him and Julius Caesar.
Yeah, cool. So obviously you're a father of two. Do you see some of that kind of rub off in terms of obviously the stoicism in the book? Do you see that kind of rubbed off with your boys? And
I punish them so much with advice, you know, like wherever we're driving, I can already imagine them being a bit older and meeting at the pub and going, Jesus, Dad, and his freaking little stoic sayings and his advice.
How do you start them? How does it start? Because there's always a dad way of doing it.
I know. It'll be like, my son will be, you know, he'll get a bit of a sledge on when he's out on the field, and he'll come back and go, and I'll go, well, was what they were saying true? You know, like he's like, but there's always, I feel myself doing it. I'm going into it advice. I don't really remember my dad doing that to me, really giving me any advice at all. But for some reason, I'm just unleashing torrents of advice on my kids, you know.
Which is good because you're competing with the advice they might be getting on TikTok and all that. So I think it's probably useful.
Well, their mum was awesome at, you know, because she was really good at you know, them being good. Like she made me watch one episode of Super Nanny before the first one was born.
Saw that.
Yeah. I think I've based a lot of my stuff on that episode of Super Nanny.
The English lady?
Yeah, that's
She's
right.
good.
Yeah, in the States, you know. I think my kids have turned out pretty well so far, you know. But you don't know what they're up to.
Yeah, they've got 2 Facebook pages and 2 everything, 3 or 4. That says a lot.
My mum didn't think I smoked cigs. You know? I always remember that. I always think about that when I'm going around going, the kid's pretty good. He's a good kid.
Have you ever had to have any like uncomfortable conversations with your sons where it's like there's times where you just can't let something slide, or you know they're going through something uncomfortable?
Yeah.
And like obviously if you haven't been talked to by your parents, you're sort of, you know, you're in a new space where you're having to have conversations with your boys.
Oh, it is, and like you can ask your kids every day, like, how was school? And they'll go, sweet. You know, they won't give you anything, you know. And then you find out a couple of years later that there was, you know, something crap happening at school. You know, they were getting picked on, or they were involved in some stuff. But yeah, I've had to have that. You know, I've tried to have those conversations, but often I get there and Lani's already had the conversation, and I'm like, phew, she's dealt with that one. You know,
Is the male vision different?
How do you mean?
The dad vision.
The dad vision is quite different, eh? And I think boys, I don't really know boys, but I think they give a more emotional response to their mum, and then because they get that back, you know, and then what they give to you is kind of more of a, you know, they want to show that they're, you know, strong or something, you know. So you do, between the two of you, because we'll often ring each other and get a totally different angle. Like mine will always be sweet, there's no problems at all, everything's great, let's go. You know, that's what I get. Yeah. And then I find out there's some other side to it that they didn't feel like, I don't know why, you know, because I'll probably be pretty open to it, but it's just easier with your mum, I guess.
I like that you said, I mentioned that, because you do mention in the book the reason why men have or sit with emotions differently from women is because there's that thing that men do with each other. Like there's that competitive nature. Can you talk to that? Because I think we don't talk about that space in between often, that kind of causes men to either not express or to one up.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, it's like the most fun conversations you have with your mates are kind of hassling each other for
Mocking.
laughs, mocking and hassling
Banter,
and banter, and that's really, really fun. But sometimes if you only do that, then you're not, you've got to look for another level, like where you can take your friendship to another level. So you've got to have that as well, because that's part of it. But there's another level to it where because too many men find out that their mate was struggling, and not so many years ago, a friend of mine took his own life, and I had no freaking idea. I had no idea he was going through anything, and I was like, what, and then you think, oh, so the last time we went out, we were just hassling each other, and I didn't ask him a single question about himself, really, and so, yeah, I think it's got to be that bit back and forth, because you can't take the fun out of friendships. And I think, I write in the book, like, if you can say the most full-on thing to your mate and he laughs, then about him, and then he laughs, then that kind of is the most show that you love each other, because you he hasn't smacked you in the face, and you can take it back. And that's what the idea of banter is, I guess. It's pretty funny, and you can out things that, like, the most embarrassing things you've done, you can hassle each other about. But there's another layer to it that you've got to try and reach, But there's this research they've done that men aren't very good at facing each other and talking. They can't face to face. They have to be side by side, and that's why going and doing stuff. Men need to do stuff. Otherwise, they just sit around a table and drink. They can do that, but going off and playing golf or things like that are actually pretty good for dudes. But it can be hard. Because you don't like. Yeah, you're having a really fun time, and then you go, bro, are you okay? And he's like, it's like, okay, man.
Yeah.
But you got to push through that,
Because you're right. If you've got a culture like that, like if your relationship's like that and you're just bantering, joking, mocking, and you're concerned, it's like, how do you break into that vulnerability conversation? And I liked what you said also, that there's a potential fear to really express, because they might use that later on. And then the guy's like, I really want to share the stuff that's happening, but I know that if I do, for now they'll be okay, but this time next week they're going to take the crap out of it. And that was interesting too. Yeah,
there is a bit of that, but I reckon I think there's more of us are kind of talking about it, and I think we are sort of evolving male relationships, because just the stats are so bad that people, and nearly everyone's been affected, but lost people and stuff, so people kind of, the stakes are quite high, so it's worth making the effort, obviously, to actually talk to someone about other stuff, but sometimes you don't even need to talk about it. It's just, I've had my mate's mum just died, and we just went out for a beer, and we didn't even really talk about it, but it was just that I went out, on a weird night and met him, it was kind of like, that was cool, even though we didn't really peel off too many layers of the situation, but I would hope he knew that I was open to it if he'd wanted to, That sounds, but
it's cool. And I think you're right. You're right. I think as men and Jay, we just and obviously got Brad and Kiona here, but sometimes we know as blokes, okay, something's up, and okay, and so I think sometimes silence is golden. You just don't have to say anything. You don't have to say much, just as long as the guy knows, hey, I'm here, I'm sitting with you, I'm spending some time with you. If you want to open up, then open up. But I think just being there kind of really helps us as men. Yeah,
I think so too, and that's why it's so important. And the stats are so bad with dudes can get really bad at keeping friendships together. And so there's this thing in it called that I talked to this guy that's wrote this book called Billy No Mates, because it was like, have you seen that movie I Love You Man?
Yes.
So this guy he wrote this real life version of that, because he was about to get married, and the plot was the same. He realised he didn't have anyone to be his best man. And he was like, "What's wrong with me?" But he did used to have mates from playing rugby and stuff. But that just because sometimes people just there's a type of guy that just lets his partner. He just doesn't organise any events, and so he just gets traipsed along to the events of his partner, and then there's the friends go by the wayside, and sometimes it's going to be a bit like, your partner can be a bit like, well, you and the boys are pretty bad when you go out, and it can become a problem, but you got to keep those friendships up. And he talks about being a Sherpa, where if you can be the guy in your friend group that organises the things and makes the phone calls and goes like, we're going to go and do this, we're going to go and do this, then that's a really good person to be, because someone has to be it, And I think women are better at that. I think they're much better at keeping contact with each other and actually organising things.
Well, we need to know the truth about how we look, If you're not going to give it, we're going to go to the girls and ask them.
Yeah. Also, like, if you're like me, I get massive commitment anxiety even for a lunch, 3 days in the future. I'm like, I don't know, what if there's something else on? So I need to be locked in for those things. Yeah. But I'm working on that one. I'm working on that one.
Like, what if you got a box at the All Blacks game, eh?
Yeah. That's right. Something could come up. So you're like, I really think I can do this on Saturday, but what if, I've just got to be honest with you, what if something comes up? Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you got to be aware of that. But yeah, also commitment, If you say you're going to do something, got to do it.
Yeah.
Even if you're missing out on something else.
Absolutely.
But what is that? Because we hear it all the time, Matt, in terms of commitment.
Yeah.
What is the big issue in terms of us as men, in terms of committing to things, or even committing to a woman, whatever? What is that? Why is it always out there?
Yeah,
we always hear that.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I've got a terribly like a holiday. Like, there's a holiday coming up, and it's going to be booked in like 6 months, and we're going to go somewhere. I'm like, and then when I go on, I always have an amazing time, and I'm so glad it happened. But there's something about it. There's something about the calendar and being locked in to something. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. It's irrational. You're just like, I don't. You should look forward to the thing, but instead you're going, I don't want to be tied down to that. What if? Who knows what's going to be happening? Where it might just be being disorganized, I guess. Yeah. I mean, because it's like that the fear of missing out, right? In the book, I wrote a little bit about this guy that wrote this book called 4,000 Weeks, a guy called Oliver Burkeman, and he talks about how you only get 4,000 weeks on the planet if you live to 80. And his point is that you miss out on everything. You don't have enough time to do everything. So the fear of missing out, you're missing out on so much, you have to make some decisions because you can't do everything. So you are missing out by very nature of how long we're around, on this earth. So you got to get used to it. You got to get used to it that you're going to miss out on nearly everything. Nearly everything you're going to miss out on, So it is that, but it's so what you say about a box to the game. It's something like that, eh? You're like, maybe the Warriors are playing that night and I haven't checked. Maybe, like, I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the full schedule.
Or double booking, eh?
Yeah, double booking, yeah.
The fear of missing out is a real thing. And I like also in the book when you talk about the spotlight effect.
Yeah.
And how that gives it a bit of perspective. That the world's a lot bigger than us. We are 1 in 8 billion people.
Yeah.
And even you just saying that, that actually in the context of everything that everybody experiences in life, we literally we literally will miss out on everything.
Yeah.
Just because of our limited time and our limited capacity here on this earth.
Yeah.
So I like how you mentioned that in the book as well, and that gives it a bit of context to hopefully encourage us to commit.
Yeah, and the other thing around that is that you think way more about yourself than anyone else does. Everyone's just sitting around thinking about themselves, and you're like, what does everyone think of me? What's going on here? What's happening here? And then you go, oh no, everyone's just wasn't even thinking about you. Everyone's walking around thinking about themselves, that's good and bad. Like it's good in that you don't really need to worry so much about what people are thinking about, because they're not thinking about you, they're thinking about themselves.
Yeah.
Especially if you make a dick of yourself, they're like, you're probably the person thinking about this the most.
And the longest.
Yeah, and the longest, yeah.
Oh, no.
Well, especially like if you're in like the shower and you think about something you did when you were 15, you go, ugh. You're like, you're definitely the only person thinking about that right now.
I know, it really gives it perspective, but it also minimises the offence, eh?
Yeah.
Because we're, like you were saying about that one statement out of the 200, we seem to focus in on it, and then we allow it to settle in. But then what you're also saying right now is actually, is it really that important?
Yeah.
Is it really that important that we even spend time thinking about it when there's 200 other cool statements?
Yeah, there's just us. But there's kind of this problem we have as humans, which is an advantage and a problem. Like, so we've got that internal monologue in our heads that's just going at us, and it's like, this is the guy called I forget his name, neuroscientist I interviewed. But anyway, he called it the inner arsehole. Like when we ask ourselves, why is
Say that again.
the inner arsehole? And it's basically why have we got someone in our heads that's not always on our side? Like you talk about a cheerleader, the voice in your head's not a cheerleader half the time. It's the one that's hassling you, and it's in your head. It's like, why is my head having a go at me? And it's because like the person that sat down on the savannah and went, things are sweet, and their internal monologue said, sweet, this is great, it's a great spot to sit down. That person got eaten by a lion 15 seconds later. But the person whose inner monologue was going, man, this is a terrible place. You haven't sorted this out. You're useless. Find a better spot. Your family's in trouble. You're a disgrace. that hunter-gatherer climbed up a tree and didn't get eaten by a lion. But in modern days, now we've still got that voice going in us, and it doesn't need to be. Someone reckoned there was some guy I talked to who said that can go at 4,000 words a minute. You're in a voice can go at you. So
how do you combat that, Matt? How do you,
in
an arsehole, so to speak.
Well, there's this way that this guy, Ethan, I wish I could remember the name of the neuroscientist. I need to read my book again. He said the best way to do it is to get it to use your name when it talks to you. So if because we're really good at giving advice to other people, but we're really bad at giving advice to ourselves. So if you just use your own name when you're talking to yourself, so you go, Matt, that's nothing, just doesn't matter, and you're in a voice you add, so it's talking to you. Then it becomes nice because we're used to being nice to other people, but not to ourselves. So if you're like lying in bed worrying about something that you have to do the next day, some kind of stressful work thing, if you just go, man, it's going to be all right, just go to sleep, we'll deal with that tomorrow, and it actually works. And they've done these big studies on it, like people that are about to do public speaking, and they get their inner monologue to say, Matt, you're going to do good, man. You've done the research. Just get up there and do it. It's fine. Their speeches quantifiably are better, and they feel better about them than the person that's just letting that voice go at them. So you can kind of tweak it so it's on your side potentially.
Cool. That's cool.
And where does that inner arsehole come from?
Yeah, well, it's just that thing that if we're satisfied. Because people always think that we're supposed to be happy, but humans aren't really supposed to be happy. They're kind of supposed to survive. Like we're designed to survive, in harsh environments. So by being happy, you put yourself in danger because you're not thinking about everything. You're not looking around for risks and not stressing out about what could go wrong. So our natural state is to be hassling ourselves, and that's fine.
Always be critical, eh?
Yeah, be critical. Yeah.
That's interesting. God,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Sounds like a defense mechanism, eh?
Yeah.
For helping you survive in the real world. If you can be harsh to yourself and survive it in some way, then in theory, the harsh feedback that you get shouldn't affect you as much.
Yeah.
But I imagine there's a reverse effect where you can beat yourself into the ground so much that you start to believe it's true.
Yeah.
When you hear that negative feedback.
Yeah. And we live in a time where we're not about to just be attacked by a lion. So we don't actually need to be hassling ourselves so much. We're all quite safe in here, you know what I mean? And most of us in our houses are, we're not necessarily in danger all the time. So we don't necessarily need to be hassling ourselves, worrying about everything, stressing about everything all the time. But but that was something that I learned that I didn't realise. I just thought that the natural state was to be happy, and whenever you fall below that, you somehow, failing or whatever, or you're not. There's something wrong with you, but we're not. We're always just.
Yeah.
We're just always just going up and down and just getting through and there's no one that's happy all the time. I mean, if you win the World Cup, you'll be happy for that night, and then the next day you'll be like, oh fuck, what next?
That's what makes it a special
Sorry,
thing.
I don't know if I'm allowed to
That's what
swear.
makes it happy.
No, all good.
If you're happy all the time, all of those happy moments, they wouldn't be special. They wouldn't be happy. They're special, they're happy moments because every other moment is not like that. You're not in that state of euphoria all the time. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a happy moment.
Yeah, because I find it interesting. You define all of these emotions.
Yeah.
You define all of them. Happy is not.
Yeah.
But you were a column writer in that happy column.
Yeah.
So how did you define happy?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think when I was made the happiness editor, I actually started researching it, and then I found this is actually the wrong thing to say, because if you're trying to set people up to be happy, then they're going to fail. Like as you say, they're happy. If you were happy all the time, you would not be happy. In fact, there's a study, there's this thought experiment that this guy Robert Nozick came up with, and it was like, if you could plug in to a machine and just feel constant happiness all the time, and everything was amazing, and you had everything you wanted, would you plug in? And they actually, this guy was an American, but they did a study at Victoria University in New Zealand, and it was like 87% of people wouldn't plug into that, because we kind of value the struggle of life and it being real. We don't want actually just to plug in and be like, I mean, like, it's kind of what heroin addicts do, don't they? They just plug in and go. We actually want that up and down in life. We want that. We want to earn. We want to earn our successes, and we want to, we don't want to just plug in and go for 80 years.
And it's interesting because you talk about the manifestation of these emotions on the body. And I was like, this is so cool. But the flip side of that is the manifestation of happiness is not healthy too.
Yeah.
If you have too much of it,
Yeah.
is what I'm hearing you say. If you're in that state of happiness too long.
Yeah, well, I just don't think it's possible, because the other way we're designed, as soon as you're really happy, then we'll flip it to be unhappy in that same survival technique where it's like wherever we're happy, the person that's happy is in danger, so they have to. It's looking for equilibrium. Yeah. So. Oh,
cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that you've used that word.
Yeah.
Because when I was reading through, you talk about like there's two sides to everything. Hey, there's you talk about pleasure and pain.
Yeah.
You talk about you can only have so much happy before it becomes unhappy.
Yeah.
Like there's always I like that you've used that word equilibrium. Like it just evens itself out.
Yeah.
And then your body talks to you and it's gone too far the other way.
Yeah.
And then you've got to do something to go back the other way.
Well, it's like it's the same across all our biology. Like if you get too hot, you sweat, and if you get too cold, you shiver. Like it's always trying to get back to that middle ground, and it's the same with your brain. It's trying to get back. So if you're too happy, it's going, no, we've got to get back to normal if we can. And normal is like looking out for dangers and risk, striving towards things, Yeah.
Well, speaking about risk, obviously, what's the risk in this time for you, present moment for you, the risk in terms of whatever the future holds? What is the risk for you, and what is the inner arsehole saying that's preventing you from taking that risk?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I do have all kinds of concerns. I'm getting better at dealing with them. Like there's that thing where you wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning and you just go, oh God, the world's going to end. Like, I feel like this is the most tumultuous times in the world. Like, is society just going to break down? Like, like you have those thoughts. So I think I've got some existential kind of fears. You've always got financial ones as well. Like, what you're going to do next and that kind of thing. But I read this book called It's Always Been the End of the World, and it's just gone through all of history, and everyone has always thought, humans have always thought that we're at the end. We've just always thought that. It's just the way we are. So I lean into that, Maybe we're wrong. Maybe we're still getting it wrong,
Living like the end of the world is right there.
Yeah.
It's almost like the other piece around looking at life from the perspective of death, eh?
Yeah.
Like death is just around the corner.
Yeah.
It could happen at any time.
Yeah.
And so if you have that in perspective, how are you going to live it?
Yeah. Well, exactly. Like everything you do, you'll do for the last time. So if you have that perspective on it, then it kind of makes it better. Like it's like the last dinner you have with a lover before she goes overseas or something, you know. That's a really important dinner. You might have had hundreds and hundreds together before that moment, but that one's really important. But if you take that approach to all of life, we only do everything so many times. And so everything is finite. And so you can actually appreciate things more. Like, say, for example, every time you see your parents, like if you visit your parents, I mean, how many times are you going to see them again? Might only be 12 times, you know.
God, if you put a number to it.
Yeah, it's terrifying, isn't it?
It is.
But that means you should really enjoy that time. So, like, if they're annoying you about something, you might as well get over it, you know, because, you know, how many more times are you going to hang out with? But that's true with everything, right? Like, even a job, like, if you're going into work, like, it kind of helps to go, wow, how many more days will I be doing this job? I don't know. Like, it kind of makes it a bit more special, you know. At some point it will stop. Everything will stop, you know. So hold on to it, you know, like enjoy it, appreciate it, you know, whatever it is.
That's good, man. That's good. I like that. Wait, is there a risk of making a comeback? You know what I mean? In terms of the comeback of the TV series.
Back of the Why Must Be Television. No. I think I would pass. I would die on the first day on set. It's too much. Yeah, I also don't know if there's much of an appetite for that kind of zero health and safety television anymore.
Well, is there anything else in the future? Like, obviously, you're always evolving and you're always kind of figuring out new things about yourself. Is there something else that you want to achieve in this moment?
Well, actually, this is my big problem at the moment. As I'm trying to think of my next project, you know, like the next thing I really want to do. And that's what I've been thinking about, complaining about lately. I need to find something to do, you know, something. I mean, love my job, the radio and my other little jobs. But I'm actually, I'm trying to think of a big thing to do because, you know, writing the book was quite hard. Like, and I was really pleased when it was over, but it was doing something that hard, you like feel like you need to do something else hard, you know, like you're sort of hardwired now to be doing something difficult every day. Yeah. So now maybe my life's just a bit easier at the moment, you know.
What was the hard part, like the process? Because it's pretty thorough, very well researched. You even put biblical references in there.
Yeah.
Are you a believer?
Well, I come from my granddad was an Anglican minister, so we've got a lot of it in our family, you know, and so it's sort of floating around there, you know.
Possible future.
maybe I'll join the church, but the hardest part of the book was just that research, because it was like if you were writing a novel, you just make it up, you know. That's pretty hard as well because you got to get a story going, but everything was just like checking things, researching it, you know, like it was quite hard to bring it all together and then make it readable. So that was it was like a really complicated jigsaw puzzle.
It honestly is almost like an academic piece, but written in a way where anyone could pick it up and understand it.
Yeah.
And you've taken the best parts out of all of these experts.
Yeah.
And you've highlighted their best parts.
Oh, thank you for saying that. That's what I was trying to do.
Cool, you did it. You did it.
Oh, good,
it really, I think, you know, for the sake of the podcast and why we do the podcast, man, the content is rich for men and women to understand men and ourselves. I'm not saying we're a different kind of species, but it's so relevant, but you've justified every point of it, and you've used various experts, various dimensions to be able to give it a well-rounded perspective.
Yeah, well, thank you. I think one of the great things is like video calls and Zoom being so easy now, because you read a book by someone and then you just find their email address and you go, would you talk about it? And then you cut to someone on the other side of the world. They're sitting in a stuffy little office at some university with heaps of books behind them, and they're like happy to talk, you know. That's quite crazy. So like if I didn't understand something I was writing about, I'd just Zoom the person and get them to explain it to me, and I was like, right, okay.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool. Thinking about the you know, the people that you've spoken to, like who's been the most surprising person you've ever spoken to, and what's been the most challenging truth to come to terms with?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I talked to this guy called Professor Scott Galloway, and he's this guy. He's a self-made guy, but I talked to him by his pool in Florida, and he's become very successful. He writes about a lot of stuff, and then his advice for life was so different from anyone else's advice for life, and it was like, there's no work-life balance. You've just got to work really freaking hard, really hard, right through your 20s, and then maybe when you're about 35, you can spend some time with your kids. That was his advice. It was like, I was like, okay, and then I was like, that's quite different from any other advice I've heard. and then he just talked me through it, and he actually convinced me of it by the end of our conversation. It was just like, there's no trade-offs. You just work as hard as you can while you've got the energy. And then he goes, I lost me all my hair, lost me my first wife, but it's worth it now because I can go and watch my son play footy in the afternoon. So his thing was to go hard when you're young. Just whatever you're into, just work really freaking hard while you've got the energy, you know. I thought, I hadn't really heard anyone say that before, because everything's like, you're looking for balance. He's like, there's no balance. No balance. No balance at all.
Just hardcore.
Just go hardcore. Hardcore until you basically fall over and then sit back and have a rest. You know?
That's why people today are having kids so much older, eh?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Like there's women having babies at 40, 50.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I'm not sure if that's a great idea. Because I actually think when I had kids, it actually sorted me out. Like, you know, like until I had kids, I didn't really know why I was doing anything, you know, like until I was like, oh, right, it's for these guys, you know, like otherwise you're just sort of spinning your wheels, running around. Why am I doing this? I'm trying to get some success here. It's all a bit confusing. And then you have kids, it's like, gotta keep this thing alive, you know?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so true. It is when you have kids, it's no longer about us anymore. It's about obviously your offspring and all that, and just kind of being that best or man or individual best dad that you can be.
Exactly. So I think it's kind of a pity that people are having kids later, because if you could find that realization when you're younger, I mean, it makes it difficult for the woman to keep, you know, it's much more difficult for the woman, you know, obviously. But for a dude, if you manage to find the responsibility of looking after children younger, I think you could probably achieve more, you know, because you're very focused on you know paying the bills.
But how does it feel? Because I've been to book calls several times, even last week, and your book's up there, mate. And how does it feel to be the best-selling book in Aotearoa, New Zealand? Not just once, twice.
Yeah. No, that's pretty good, because I spent so long writing it that I was hoping someone would read it, you know, like, you know, because there's a chance, like a lot of books come out and no one reads them at all, you know. And so I was like, I hope someone, I hope it, you know, it does okay. But then it did really well, and it still is. It's the new edition's just arrived, because it's fifth edition's coming out, and the new one has #1 bestseller across the top. So
Oh man, cool.
yeah, the new printing that's just arrived. I got a text from my publisher saying the new ones have arrived. So that's kind of cool to have that written on.
Yeah,
Congratulations,
well
man.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and it was quite good, because my good mate Di, who was on here a few weeks ago, we were like shocked, because where books were coming out at the same time. We're like, well, we're going to be competing with each other. But then I got 2 weeks at #1, and then he got a week. He was #1 the week after that. So we're like, oh, that's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, that
That's
is cool.
so awesome.
Yeah, because I wrote about Di in the book, actually, a little bit, because he's a very inspirational man, you know.
Where did you put him? I didn't read.
He is in the chapter on grieving.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very. When's the audiobook coming out?
I'm starting to record it soon.
Because, you know, hearing you talk to your book
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
cool, super cool. Because when I'm reading it, I'm really wanting to know, like, the sound of your voice, you know,
Yeah.
like the nuances that you don't pick up in the book.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, where's the audiobook? And I hope you're reading your own book.
Yeah, I am.
Mean.
They made me audition for it, though.
They made you. They made the author audition for.
Yeah,
for the reading.
I was like, who else is going to read that? You're not going to pay someone else to read that. Like, that's going to come out of my royalties. I'll read it. But it's going to take a long time because I can't read 2 sentences without mucking up. So we'll see how we go. It's going to take a while. That's coming out. I've got to find time to do that. But yeah, I know I love audiobooks. I'm all about them.
Yeah.
I get really disappointed when it's not the author. I'm like, why am I listening to this idiot reading it?
Well, I bought your book on iBooks, and then because I couldn't find the audiobook, in the hope that iBook would read it, and oh gosh, it was so bad. The
robot voice.
The robot voice was so bad.
Right.
I was like, no. I'll wait for the audiobook to come out.
Yeah, well, maybe I could get AI to do my voice and read it.
What's the program you'd use for that?
I don't know. Someone might not exist yet.
Oh man, I tell you, man, it's been a privilege. Obviously, you got so much more to give. I know the future is obviously just a lot of things are happening. You talk about risks, obviously the book, and you're looking for another project, a new project.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, maybe all the best for whatever is ahead. But thank you so much. Well, for me personally, just thank you so much for just the kōrero, the talanoa, the conversation, and just having a yarn with us. But also just sharing little snippets just giving us glimpses of your journey thus far. So man, mate, all the best for 2024, but also for the future. So please keep us posted, keep me posted, and then the rest of the team posted in terms of what else it's going to be brewing in the near future.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a really fun chat. So cheers.
Awesome, brother. Anyone else?
Yeah, no, thank you so much. It's been a real privilege to have the author of the book, of this awesome book, here on the table, just sharing your insights, sharing a bit of your story around your life journey, and where you are now, where you're about to go. But the mere fact that you spent all that time, and how much time did you spend writing this book?
Oh God, a terrible hourly rate. It would be horrific. It might be like 10 cents an hour or something. I don't know. It took me 18 months to write it.
Every day?
Yeah,
Wow.
sometimes I get a mental block and not write for 3 days, but generally every day. And because I do a breakfast radio show, I generally come home, try and write, and then fall asleep on the keyboard, and then go.
Wow.
Yeah. So it took a while. I can't actually remember really writing it, to be honest.
That's that pain and pleasure.
Yeah. I remember starting and going, I'm not going to be able to do this, and I remember a few moments of I can't do this, and then I remember finishing it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm glad that you shared that, because people need to know how much effort's gone into writing this book. And when you wrote this, what were you hoping? What are you hoping people will get from you spending so much time of your own life into this book? What are you hoping people get from it?
Well, there was a review in Kitty that said, I'm going to leave this book lying around the house, and hopefully my teenage son grabs it and reads it, and maybe won't waste a lot of his life struggling with some of the things in this book, So I kind of feel like it's like that song, if I knew now, if I knew younger, what was that song called? Anyway, doesn't matter. If only I knew what I know now when I was younger. Yeah. Great song. Totally forgetting the tune at the moment, but because that's what I felt when I started reading all this stuff. I was like, oh man, that would have really helped me. I wouldn't have spun my wheels and wasted my life on, a lot of the time my 20s on stuff that didn't matter. And I don't know if people are ready to when you're younger, whether you can, you might just have too much in there, but I just think some of those little things that are so obvious would help. So I'd love it, and I do love it, because I'm running into people, and people are contacting me saying that it's helped them, and I love it when people say I bought it for my son, and he loved it, and he's got something out of it. Yeah, that stuff's kind of is good, because you're not going to make you rich writing a book. It's good, but so if you can get some good feels out of it, then that's good. You feel like you've helped some people.
There's so much good stuff in this book, and I hope you achieve that. I know when some of the feedback these guys celebrate are the ones similar to that, when the mums writing comments like, "Oh my gosh, this stuff is so good. My son watched it, and thank God there's something out there for my son." Like there's such a massive need for this kind of content.
Yeah,
so
young dudes have got some headwinds at the moment in the world. So
headwinds.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. And so thank you for writing this.
Cheers.
Thank you, because I'm going to hand this to my son.
Oh, good.
And get him to read it. Good. And he'll challenge me on a few things that we do at home because of it. So thank you in advance.
That's really cool, eh? And just thinking about like I just noticed in there, like the chapters, they had the question mark on there, and just thinking about like, you know, the upcoming generation, and sometimes they don't want to hear answers, but we can help reframe their thinking by asking them the right questions.
Yeah.
And I think there's something really important there in terms of being able to ask the right questions at the right time and helping them come to realize their own answers. And I just had a couple more questions there in terms of like thinking about being a father, like what values are most important in terms of what should a father embody? Because we were talking about it earlier in terms of like being able to express yourself properly to your kids, and how the kids can sometimes have a different story to the father compared to the mother. And I wonder if better communication would happen. Is it a matter of fathers being able to express themselves, and like, is crying in front of your children okay, or is it more important for us as fathers to be stoic and to be like...
Yeah, I was thinking about what the most important thing to be a dad was quite a bit, and I think one of them is being solid. So you are a solid force. What you say, you do. If you're going to say you're going to be somewhere, you're there. You know, I think that's a huge thing, and I think it's also being available. You know, doing the hard work, like, you know, driving your kids to sport and doing all that kind of stuff. I think that is the most important thing. Like, it's because it might not be necessarily that natural to have constantly do what I do and have handing out advice. You know, like I think the best thing you can do is like provide as hard as you can, like provide as best you can, be as solid as you can, and be as reliable as you can. You know, I think if you do that, you're doing pretty well. If you know, if your kids know that you say something, you're going to do it. And they know if something goes wrong, you'll be there. You know, like that thing that I always say to my kids, and other people say, if something goes wrong, I don't care where you are, I don't care what time it is, I'll drive over and get you, you know, and bring you home. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And I think, for me anyway, I think that's what I've decided is the right thing to do if I can, you know. And it's not always easy, you know. Like the dog went missing the other day, and I was out of town, you know. Dog ran away and I was out of town. I wasn't there to help.
Yeah.
You know,
No, that's cool. And the last question was, what role does intuition and curiosity play in terms of, and I don't even know if being content is the goal, but in terms of being where we want to be.
Yeah. I reckon curiosity is one of the most important things, like just curiosity about everything, you know, like, you know, when they talk about fighting addiction and stuff, and I talked to this neuroscientist called Dr. Judson Brewer, and his whole thing is curiosity. So asking, like, you know, like if you know, even basically trying to give up cigarettes, it's like, smoke a cigarette and ask yourself about all the flavors, about everything, about every sensation you're feeling about it, and everything like that, being really curious about what it is. And most people, when they do that, they can't stand a cigarette because you know, like a dart tastes pretty disgusting, and we haven't ever thought about it. We haven't ever actually concentrated. And a lot of that stuff in our life, when we just get into that sort of repeating the same things over years, because we haven't asked any questions. We haven't been curious about why we're doing something, or why that happened, or, you know, why you behave like that, or, you know, at the end of the day, if you've had kind of a rough day, like, why was it a rough day? What did I do wrong? What could I do better? You know, all that kind of stuff. I think curiosity is one of the best things we can lean into, you know, if we can, because too much we just don't want to face it, you know, just get drunk and don't even think about it, you know, and then you just never change. If you never ask questions of yourself, you're just stuck in purgatory, you know.
Oh, cool. And what about intuition?
Yeah, I think I've got terrible intuition. Like I think I'm terrible at. I don't have great intuition. I don't have great emotional EQ or any of that kind of stuff. Like I think I've got terrible intuition. I get all that stuff wrong. I think that's something I'd like to have some of. I'd love to have a bit of that.
Cool. Thank you so much for your time and just your insight. Honestly, really enjoyable.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been great.
Awesome, man.
Good chat. It's good just sit around in a circle and chat. It's
Yeah,
good.
no, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. But we always give our guests a gift. We always give them a caricature or a cartoon of how we envision them to be. So, Matt, on behalf of the team, this is for you, brother.
Oh wow! Hey, that's awesome. Do you know what? That looks exactly like my grandfather.
Really?
Yeah, that looks so much like. It's funny because my whole family say you look exactly like your grandfather, and I go, no, I don't. And then I'm like, I freaking do.
So you write about how the eye is quite limited on what it sees,
Yeah,
and he just saw that.
yeah,
It's cool, man. It's cool. But Matt, before we conclude, is there anyone that you could suggest do you think would be ideal to come on the podcast?
Oh
Or
boy!
anyone you think, man, this person would be perfect to come on?
Oh my god! Yeah, that's a good question. I got to think about this for a second. Oh, you put me on the spot there. It's too late. Too long since I did my breakfast show to even think of a single name of person. Have you had Di Henwood on? He's bloody good. I'd have him on again.
I'm sure he'd be amazing.
Yeah, yeah, no, he's good. Yeah, not that guy, Jeremy Wells. I spent too much time with him. You know, he's got no insights. He's got no insights. No, just kidding. He's a great man. Actually, he'd be all right.
Cool.
Yeah,
Jeremy,
cool.
no, awesome, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate it, man. But any last, since you're quite philosophical, any last philosophical words for our viewers and our listeners?
I reckon just try and enjoy the good times because the bad times might be coming. You know, I reckon that's the most important message. You know, try and enjoy the good times because you never know what's around the corner. You know.
Awesome. So, guys, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And also, if you haven't got the book already, please, A Life Less Punishing by Matt Heath. Please check it out and go buy a book. Or go online and buy the book as well. So, once again, team,
Find,
Unlock
and take charge.
Mandate.